Brian Daboll is going to interview with the Buffalo Bills. Phillip Rivers is also interviewing. He's not going to get the job, but it's kind of an interesting interview. I want to go back because we don't tend to talk about who got hired last year in the coaching cycle. So if you go back 1 year in the coaching cycle, Vrabel was an automatic. We all knew he was going to be great. Faster maybe than you predicted, but we knew it was a big hit. We also knew Ben Johnson had been the smartest, most clever coordinator in the NFL for several years, had several offers. We thought that was going to work too. And we knew kind of all of us, even people in Dallas knew, Brian Schottenheimer, that's a pretty weak swing. So 3 of 7, you kind of felt like, Vrabel and Ben Johnson are going to work, Schottenheimer. But when you went to Liam Cohen, Kellen Moore, Aaron Glenn, I don't know. Pete Carroll, I thought, would stabilize the Raiders. That was a mess. But in a lot of the young guys, he didn't really know. And I think that is where Brian Daboll is. I don't know. The best part about him, it's an offensive league, and he's an offensive coach, and he's worked with Josh Allen. The worst part, he was 20-40-1 with the Giants, and it ended ugly. So very few of these coaches, all these interviews, are blue chip stocks. That's John Harbaugh. That will work with the Giants. That's my prediction. Vrabel, Harbaugh, Jim or John, Sean Payton, blue chip stocks. The rest of them, including Brian Daboll, who I like, it's like venture capitalism. There's a lot of promise. There's a lot of hope. You need restructuring and new leadership. But it should be noted, all those smart people with all that money, venture capitalists, their hit rate is 20%. And the hit rate on coaches not named Harbaugh, Sean Payton, Vrabel, the hit rate is closer to 20% than 75%. I don't know what he's going to be. I know what he's inheriting: new stadium, stable ownership, better revenue going forward, great left tackle, running back, superstar quarterback, great tight ends, decent defense, not special. Eric Mangini considers Daboll a friend, knows him well. Thoughts on Daboll landing with Josh Allen?
Brian is the ultimate Buffalo guy. He grew up in Buffalo. He could literally work for the Buffalo Tourism Bureau because he loves Buffalo so much. So from that perspective, yeah, it's a great fit. He's got a really good relationship with the most important player on the team and a lot of respect from him. And in my mind, did a significant amount to help develop him from a fairly raw talent in college to a much more polished talent.
This is fascinating for a multitude of reasons. There is no obvious guaranteed hire here, no slam dunk. Personally, I viewed candidates like Liam Cohen and Ben Johnson in that light. On one hand, I believe a Mike McDaniel could work wonders with the Buffalo Bills offense and with Josh Allen, because I do consider McDaniel a genius in terms of play calling and play design. The significant risk with him, however, lies in his capabilities as an actual head coach, the CEO of the entire operation. In contrast, Brian Daboll, I think, can manage a team and fulfill the head coaching role in a much smoother, more comprehensive manner. But is he as much of a genius, as brilliant, or as innovative from a pure play-calling perspective? From a strict coordinating standpoint, he probably isn't to the same degree. This is precisely why the image I wanted to highlight is so telling. It underscores why having a Brian Daboll figure is so crucial for someone like Sean McDermott. There was a moment in a game, time had stopped, and Sean McDermott was just standing there, hands in his pockets, with not much to do. That's the head coach of the Buffalo Bills. In that critical instant, the essential connection was between Josh Allen and Brian Daboll. It is the most vital connection in all of sports. For the Bills, their version of the Brady play-caller dynamic isn't even on the field. It's upstairs in the booth. That creates an entirely different feeling. This is why I deeply appreciate a quote from a coach, which states, "The relationship between the quarterback and the offensive play caller is the most important relationship in all of sports." I wholeheartedly subscribe to that belief. You can see the evidence right in that photograph. That is the specific power and dynamic a Brian Daboll brings to an organization like the Bills. However, evaluating Brian Daboll's true greatness is challenging because the overwhelming majority, roughly 95%, of the reason people think he's excellent stems from his work with Josh Allen. We all recognize who Josh Allen is. Daboll's other notable achievement was a single season with Daniel Jones, guiding him to the playoffs, and a victory over, I believe, the Minnesota Vikings. Beyond that, his resume has been underwhelming, often amid chaotic situations. The problem, of course, is that the New York Giants have been a mess, their roster a disaster. Did Daboll do an adequate job keeping that team and its culture afloat? It's difficult to say, and it's hard to envision a dramatically different outcome. If you're skeptical of Brian Daboll's ability to manage a complete organizational structure, then I'm unsure why you'd have more faith in Mike McDaniel's capacity in that area. Yet, from my observation, Mike McDaniel's offensive systems have consistently appeared more effective with less overall talent. So the central question remains, is he the right individual to lead the entire Buffalo Bills franchise? It becomes a complex dilemma. That's why I assert there are no definitive home run hires here, no easy layups. But if compelled to choose, I would undoubtedly lean toward Brian Daboll. This is precisely why a candidate like Ben Johnson was so appealing. He seemingly offered the best of both worlds. You could obtain the intensity, the hyper-focus, and the commanding control of a Brian Daboll, coupled with the schematic brilliance and genius of a Mike McDaniel. When Ben Johnson enters a room, there is no shadow of a doubt regarding who is in command of that situation. The same applies to Brian Daboll. You do not necessarily get that authoritative presence with Mike McDaniel, but you do acquire his offensive genius. As for Philip Rivers as a head coach, we have no evidence. Zero. I don't believe the Bills should be in the business of granting Philip Rivers his inaugural role as an actual NFL head coach. Perhaps I'd be interested in hiring him as a quarterback's coach or in a similar capacity. Maybe he could be the offensive coordinator, but in a scenario where Brian Daboll is the head coach, Daboll would likely remain the primary play caller. You would still require an official OC, however, so that arrangement might be intriguing. Still, it's speculative. This highlights how it's straightforward for us to casually suggest, pick this guy, pick that guy. This is why the interview process is critical. You must engage in substantive conversations. You need to develop a genuine understanding of the candidate's vision. What is their narrative? Not only what are their proposed solutions to existing problems, but what other issues do they identify, and how do they plan to address them? In many respects, you are bringing in a Brian Daboll or a Mike McDaniel to diagnose the team's ailments and prescribe a remedy. We, as outsiders, lack that crucial information. We possess none of it. Furthermore, when you involve Josh Allen in some of these interviews, it's not difficult to imagine he would have a strong, positive connection with Brian Daboll. This presents another layer. While you want your franchise quarterback's input, you must also recognize he might not inherently know what is best for his long-term development or for the team. It's somewhat akin to asking a child if they want cookies for dinner. They will, of course, say yes. That might be their desire, but it doesn't mean it's what they should receive. It's a delicate balancing act. The stakes are astronomically high. Make the correct decision, and you can win a Super Bowl. Make the wrong one, and you likely won't. Consequently, immense pressure rests on the interview process itself. I've even pondered, is there a method to combine Mike McDaniel and Brian Daboll? Could you hire both? Offer them an exorbitant sum of money, and likewise pay a premium to secure an elite defensive coordinator. Just allocate every available resource to this singular situation. Of course, I have no idea if Brian Daboll and Mike McDaniel could coexist harmoniously from an offensive philosophy and play-calling perspective. I'm merely brainstorming. Hire all three: head coach, offensive coordinator, quarterback coach. Then venture out, identify an elite defensive coordinator, compensate them handsomely to repair the defense, execute a stellar draft, make shrewd moves in free agency, and proceed to dominate. It's remarkably straightforward. I've just outlined the blueprint. But those are merely my perspectives. I am absolutely eager to hear yours. What are your thoughts on the Buffalo Bills coaching search? Who do you believe they should hire? How do you feel this entire process has been unfolding? Please share your thoughts in the comments section below. I read every single comment. Whether you agree with me or disagree, let's engage in some discussions. Let's have some spirited debates. But ultimately, let's simply enjoy the conversation. Please consider subscribing. We are cultivating an incredible community here, and I would absolutely love for you to be part of it. I aim to build something we all feel authentically connected to, something we are genuinely excited to participate in. I believe we are well on our path to achieving that. Also, please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. It genuinely assists with visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. I'll see you next time.